Today we're diving into goals, which can have a profound impact on your happiness, well-being, and overall just fulfillment in life. Can setting goals and meeting goals in 2024 really come with the ease that the internet, YouTube makes it seem? Let's find out together. If you don't know me yet, I'm Will Mosley. I've been in my career for 17 years. I'm a husband. I've been with my partner for 13 years, married for 9, coming up on almost a decade. And we're about to have our 6th boy in March. So I believe I can speak deeply on life and how it translates to goals. I personally don't agree that the specific nitty-gritty goal setting matters as much as the inputs that are required to set unreasonable doubt, unreasonable results, as deemed by Alex Hormozi, author of $1 Million Offers and $1 Million Leads. I'll break down goals into 3 parts. Part 1, how most people approach goals, how myself, until this year, approached goals. Part 2, the problem with goal setting in general. And part 3, what you should do instead. This has always blown my mind a little bit. 99% of you that listen to this show regularly haven't yet subscribed. Our goal is 50%. Can I ask you a favor before we start? If you like what we do here at the show and want to support us, the free, simple way you can do this is by clicking the subscribe button. My commitment to you is if you do that, I'll do everything in my power to make sure this show gets better and better every week. I'll listen to your feedback. We'll dive deeper into the self-development questions that you want to explore the most. And I'll continue bringing the energy to your day-to-day life. Thank you so much. Okay, let's jump in. Part 1, how most people and myself up till this year approached goals. I've always had a problem with goals. I'm an optimizer. I fidget a lot. I change things a lot. I move things around a lot. Every single day I have a new idea that I kind of want to put legs to and go. And with every single idea, there requires action. And action a lot of times requires direction. And direction, if you don't have a goal, a space, a spot to kind of put that in, then you're not doing anything. You can't get there. And so you can imagine me personally, if you listen to the last video, which I recommend about my thoughts about self-development in general, as a young kid, I didn't have any direction, right? So I felt like a failure. So I think when you have nothing to go towards, you feel like you're just circling and going around and doing nothing. And that's a miserable feeling. I've had a space in my life not too long ago where I had 2 or 3 years where I felt like I was just floundering. And this was in a different space than my childhood. It was more in a space of I got to the top of what I felt like my career. I got to the top. And then I think I fell out of love and I didn't know where to go, whether I continued to go up that mountain of what I was doing. Should I go find something new? All these things kind of stopped me from going anywhere. And no matter how many goals that I set for myself, I couldn't get myself unstuck. As a kid, again, it was a different story. I didn't have self-confidence. I didn't have love for myself. And that's a really big deal for people that are trying to set goals, is the belief that you'll even be able to accomplish what you're trying to set out to do is already the first thing. And I think a lot of people get this wrong to begin with. They don't believe in themselves. They don't have confidence in their ability. And it's really sad because a lot of this stuff really does come down to parenthood. It comes down to, being in school. It comes down to relationships that you get in. And instead of these relationships, whether it's family, whether it's workplace, all those things, instead of them building you up and giving you more and more confidence to believe that you can accomplish greater and greater things, they take from you and take from you and take from you. They sap your energy. They tell you negative things. They say That's crazy. Why would you think you could do that? What? Be a real estate agent? That's silly. Like, Will, you're a web developer. Like, they take something that you're already doing, possibly, and if there's anything that does not align with that, they discredit that. I've heard that many times in my life over the years. I'm 35 now. Almost 36, bro. Almost 36, February. And having people in your life that do not build you up to the goals that you set, you have, like, that's like one of the first things that I find like most people do. They allow a lot of people in their life that are not in line with where they want to go, and where you want to go a lot of times has to do with your goal. So that's one thing that I see a lot, and I did that so much. I'm very much came from like a people pleaser dynamic, Again, I found I was rewarded for people pleasing. I couldn't figure out how to fit in or be part of society in school, or, I never felt like I had a real family dynamic, past the age of 12. And the way that I finally figured out how to fit in was people pleasing, okay? And we're taking a little side note from goal setting here, and it will kind of come back. Again, we're deep diving here. People pleasing was the first validation that I got that encouraged me to be like, there's something here. People like me. It feels good. This is cool. And so I always had like a genuine, I think, heart of kindness. There are a lot of people that don't see the glass half full. And I realize that is also a flaw in itself. But I've always been like a glass half full. Even when my mom died. Like, I sat there and I had a moment in time, and you can call this trauma itself, but I never was like, I'm like when you have a severe loss, a lot of times you can go darker, you can go high, you can go low or go high. And my thoughts were always just like, go high, like, could keep moving on, keep calm, keep moving on. Now, that could be signs of suppressing your emotions, right? Not processing your emotions again. But I've always kind of had this energy about life that I think has just been part of my DNA forever. As far as people pleasing and goal setting, I started to work. My first job was Zaxby's, and I remember figuring out my place and how my environment actually has an impact on my ability to have confidence in myself. When I first worked at Zaxby's, I was put in back of house, okay? And if you know anything about a restaurant, you have the front of house, you have the back of house. Front of house is typically more customer service. Most people that are on back of house don't want anything to do with customers. They want to be back there in the back cave making the food. They feel good with the work they're doing. And then front of house does not really want to be back there doing all the nitty gritty. They'd rather be around the people, or they feel a little more confident with that. So I was placed in the wrong environment, back of house. And in that environment, just like school, I felt like I was a failure. I felt like I wasn't doing well. Until one day, I think I asked, like, hey, can I maybe do front of house? And again, Will with low confidence to zero confidence. And thankfully, they said, yeah, sure, okay, Will. And when I went to front of house, something clicked. When I was in front of these customers, they appreciated the kindness in my heart. They say, hey, thanks, Will. And I also felt good about what I was saying. Now, again, this was still geared in line of people pleasing. I think that there's being self-aware and being just genuine, but I think you can also, when you get rewarded for being kind, you can also go overboard, like I said, and that then creates this doing everything for everyone always, which can also be a terrible thing, which is, again, another thing where a lot of people that set goals, a lot of people that, are in the productivity space, a lot of them are more on the people-pleasing side. They do well in their career, they're moving on, they're doing their thing because they're being rewarded for that. But a lot of times other people have other goals for you that aren't your own, which can be a complete contradiction of being able to achieve your goals. If you're always giving your energy to someone else and you have none left in the tank for yourself after work or after whatever to then meet your goals, you're going to fall short every time. And I find that, at least for a very long time in my life, I did that. And I think a lot of people do that. They kind of get caught in this, either I don't believe in myself, or I put everything on the table for somebody else but leave none in the tank for myself. And those are probably the two commonalities I see, like with goals in general. The last one that I kind of see is just the traditions of goal setting itself. It's kind of like, hey, I want to make $100,000, or hey, I want to make $1 million, or hey, I want to go on 5 vacations or whatever this year. And you set a goal, but you don't do the backwards work to ensure that you get there. You set the output, but you don't look at the inputs of how you'll actually manage to get there. And I think that's the majority of people when they set goals. They make up some random thing. They hear a podcast, they hear somebody say something, they say, that sounds great, I want to do that, I want to get a 6-pack, I want to, whatever it is. But they don't lay the foundation, they don't do the backwards work to figure out how to get there. And I think that's some of the common, those would be the 3 things I'd say are very common in goal setting that I, for a very long time, did. Low confidence, people pleasing for other people, to a fault where you have nothing left in the tank for you, and setting just these ambitious goals, these outputs, without knowing any of the inputs that need to go in there to actually make it happen. If I added a bonus on there, which this has been another part of my life, burnout. Setting very ambitious goals and going extremely hard for the first day, 2, 3, whatever, and then you don't have enough in the tank. You're not going to get there. Too ambitious about the time horizon that it takes to get there. Let's move on to part 2. The problem with goals. The problem with goals is they attack the wrong thing. And they attack the output. They attack where you want to be, right? It's kind of like saying, I want to retire at 65 and, have $2 million in the bank. They attack that. And having ambitious goals and places you want to be, like I want to add another 0 to my bank account, or I want to have 4 kids, or I want to be in a healthy marriage. Saying all these things sound great and they feel great, but as Alex Hormozi puts it, and I believe heavily in this, and also with Atomic Habits, this is another one, James Clear, that throws some of this in here. Alex very much is a proponent of inputs. How can you undeniably put a certain amount of inputs in that you'll reach the goal? And what I've found is that's required, but a lot of times when you set goals as well, even if you hit the goal, you plateau because your work ethic right here, everything that you do was set up in that. So it's either a pass fail, and I think James Clear mentions this as well in his book Atomic Habits, where it's because it's based on results. Let's say you do win the championship. Let's say you do make $100,000 for the year. Great, you met the goal. And then after that, if you met it, a lot of times people flounder, and that's the problem with goals, is goals are great motivators to maybe get you thinking and get you started, but they're not great for the day-to-day gruel of what it really takes to actually meet goals and exceed goals and continue going on. Alex Hormozi again makes a point of infinite games. Infinite games are things that you don't win at. You don't lose at. The point of an infinite game, a finite or an infinite game, is to keep playing. Okay. He makes the point of like finite games are pretty much there's a win and a lose, right? At football, like the Super Bowl or the election that just happened, yesterday. Like that is a finite game. Someone is a winner, someone's a loser, right? You either win or you lose at that game. And so what's kind of crazy is you can take this example, right? Where there's someone that wins, right, in the election, the person that's been working really hard to be that loses, that was working hard towards that. Imagine how they feel the day after, right? Imagine how they feel if their whole goal was just to win the election or win the Super Bowl or win, whatever it is that you're trying to win at. Imagine that day after where you don't hit that goal. Depression. I had massive depression when I felt it wasn't even specifically a goal set. It was I had put my identity into creative direction for a very long time. Okay, my identity was tied to I'm a creative director, or I'm a web developer, or I'm a filmmaker. Like my identity was there. And so guess what happens when you lose that game, right? In a way you can lose that game is if you get laid off, if you get fired from your position, all of a sudden that is stripped from you. You don't, even though it hasn't left you, it feels like it's left you. I was laid off, around COVID time where, from New Human, and that identity of working at a company for almost 7 years, 8 years, whatever it was, not being part of that company anymore, part of that culture, part of that dynamic, that was excruciatingly painful. You can be upset about like, oh man, this sucks, whatever. But like when you are in something for so long and then you lose at it, it can hurt really bad. Now, same can be said for winning, okay? Let's say that, right, you're trying really hard to get a job at, in your career space. You're trying to win at getting the job. What happens when you actually do get the job, okay? Some people may keep that same energy and like, oh my God, great, I'm so thankful, I'm so whatever. But sometimes you win at getting the job and all of a sudden you have the job and now you're not even like putting your energy in the job anymore. The whole goal was to win the job, not to, it's a weird dynamic. And this is the problem with goals, is goals are like, they're like uppers and downers, bro. Like heavy uppers, heavy downers. Alex makes the point of marriage, and I agree completely with this. You don't win at marriage. The goal of marriage is to keep being in this relationship, to stay committed. Like that's the goal. How long can we play this game for? How long can we be married for? And I see that, you know what I mean? It is so much, when you commit to something, when you give it your energy, your life force, and it's not based off of the volatile ups and downs, like the stock market. For instance, day trading is a lot like this. You can win a day and you can lose a day. That can feel really heavy right here. But like, in a sense, if you think about investing is like in a sense of like your retirement or S&P 500. We're not talking about like high risk, high reward. We're talking about like low risk, low reward, but consistent, steady. The point of investing is not to win at investing or lose at investing or like stop doing it or whatever, like base it off of that. The idea is to continue the game of investing, which is like dollar cost averaging. We're just going to keep on putting our money in, keep on investing our time and energy. And you know what's interesting about that is if you can have the goal of how much you want to hit, for retirement or FIRE or financially independent, all that. But guess what? If you don't align that with inputs, you're not going to get there. Okay? So that is the heavy problem that I see. The big elephant in the room that I find with goals is goals feel sexy. They feel great. I have a new one. It feels like every day I'm like, oh yeah, if I do X, if I do Y, then I'll be at this point. Like, great. But as soon as that sizzle wears off after a day or two, it can be excruciatingly demotivating. Because not only did you have a goal, right? This big goal. This is me personally. I'm talking for myself. You had this goal for the day. You're like, oh man, if I do this in 6 months, I'll be at this. But then a day later, you don't really care as much about that. You're like, you've kind of seen some other YouTube podcast, right? And there's another big goal or idea in there. Like, oh, if I do this. So not only did you have steam for a goal and it went off the cliffs, you now have another one that you have steam for. And you get enough of those that go off the cliff over and over and over again, and you start losing confidence in your ability to be consistent, your ability to be a man of your word. Like Joker says, I'm a man of my word. Like, by the way, Dark Knight, bro, so good. You stop losing, and especially as a man, I can't speak for women, but as a man, like being a person of your word and of your character has a lot to do with your ability to forecast the future, okay? If you're unconfident about what tomorrow looks like, it's very hard for you to set a goal and meet the goal. If you're unconfident about what 2 months looks like, 3 months looks like from now, a year looks like from now, very hard to be confident in yourself. So remember our part 1 where we're talking about confidence. Confidence it's critical. You got to have confidence, but you also have to have work to back up that confidence. Let's move on to part 3. All right, part 3, what you should do instead. Only until this year would I consider myself confident in my ability to, I'm not going to say the word set goals, do something else instead. So I think that instead of setting goals, again, a lot of references for Alex Hormozi. He's been a huge impact on this year. A lot of input from or thoughts from him is being directionally accurate is better than 1, floundering, not knowing where to go at all, and 2, better than a goal. Okay, so I think that being directionally correct is way more powerful than an end goal or floundering with no you can't figure out what to do. And I've been stuck in both situations. Now, directionally correct, right? You can have this goal. I make SOPs that have like metrics and things that I'd like to hit, right? But more importantly is to do the backwards math, okay? Not just to hit that goal, but like continuous growth over time. And the only way you do that is 1, hard work times time times hard work times time. The way that you crush goals is hard work times time. Okay? I'm going to go a little bit into time for a minute, and then I'll go into hard work. Time is, you hear this all the time, time is your most valuable asset. Time is your most valuable asset. And I mean that. I didn't believe this when, up until a year ago, until I really started understanding how a lot of the rich operate, a lot of these people, these business owners operate, and realizing that time is everything, okay? We exchange time, or we exchange our time for money. And then we also do the opposite. We exchange our money to get back time. And I'll make a couple examples here, and this will make sense to goal setting here in a bit. Okay, so right now you may have either one or two things going on. You may be a W-2 worker who gets paid a salary or hourly. We'll just consider those the same thing. You get paid, a regular check every 2 weeks, every month, whatever, for your time, okay? So essentially what is happening, the negotiation that you have with your boss or with your job is, I will work 40 hours, okay? I will give up 40 hours of my life every week. That's what's happening. I'll give up 40 hours in exchange for this monetary value, okay? And why it makes sense and why it's worth it to the job is, like, you have expertise, which in a sense, if you think about this, and this is another level up, you're exchanging your expertise / time, we'll just consider it time, for money so that you can pay for bills, have fun, invest, all that stuff. You're able to do that. In exchange with what the job gets, and they're another level up probably from you in this, is they're going to give you money, and by them exchanging this money, they're really buying time, okay? They're buying your time because either they don't want to do it, they don't have the skill to do it, and however long it would have taken them, it might take them double the time, triple the time. And so they're willing to invest or sacrifice or give up that money so that it doesn't take them 3 times as long, which you can get how this goes back and forth. We throw it back and forth. I do the same thing. I did it this morning, okay? Look, this double shot espresso with 3 cream, 3 sugar, I could, okay, use my time at the house to make a coffee, which would have been minimal, but instead I opted to pay for convenience. I use some of my money with my work, I trade for my time. I use some of my money to buy this coffee. Now, this coffee takes people time to make, to pull the shots, the espresso. I'm going to try to bring it in. So when you start to realize that your time is money, all of your time is money, and if your goal is, say, to make a lot of money, or your goal is to be able to buy a house, or your goal is to be able to go on vacation, you need money to translate with that. You need some sort of money to trade to do that thing. Most of us work 8 hours a day in the W-2 kind of zone. And I was very used to this. I was working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, enjoying a very cush existence. I consider it, working in the zoo. The zoo, they feed you every day. You go in, you kind of do the same thing. You show off for the people. You're around it. You're there. It's a great existence. I think, highly recommend. W-2 work is great. But the problem with the zoo is there is an upside, like a cap, on how much you can earn. Okay? And so that means that, in a sense, your 8 hours, and this is going to come back to goal setting and inputs and like how to achieve your goals here in a minute. You only have technically 8 hours a day that you're getting paid money for. Not 10 hours, not 12 hours, not 14 hours, not 15 hours. You are capped at the earning capacity of 8 hours and also the earning capacity of 5 days, not 7 days. Now, of course, you can go get a side job, blah, blah, all that stuff. But we'll just leave it to why W-2. It's nice because you don't have to really go out. You don't have to work as hard for your keep. And some people may trade that convenience where I get this job, I'm not having to work as hard as I really would have to if I was on contract side. I really enjoy getting this nice paycheck for my time that I then use and spend in however I do it. I really enjoy that. Now, I did terrible transitioning from W-2 work to contract work. I dropped off a cliff. It was the worst feeling as a man that I think I've ever gone through. I don't think anything else compared other than my high school years where I felt so low. I don't think anything compared to that. As when I was laid off from New Human, which I had, again, been in the zoo, W-2 work for 10 plus years at that point, where I went to doing contract work, which was like Uber and Walmart deliveries and Amazon's, the popular gig work apps. I had the same philosophy. Again, this will come back to goals. I promise. We deep dive and we come back up. I had the same philosophy with W-2 work as I did with contract work, and it's not the same. And I think truthfully, if you want to get really good with goals and hitting your goals, and actually what I'm going to say that's actually better than goals here in a minute, I think that learning how to do contract work is maybe an invaluable skill. It's a very hard skill coming from W-2, but what really it is you're going out in the jungle, okay? You go out and you are a hunter, and if you don't work, you don't eat, okay? And here's the thing. In the jungle, you can go out early morning, okay, and spend all of your time, valuable time, and still not come back with food for the family. And that is the harsh reality of hunting, in the jungle. You went out, before in W-2 and Zooland, you gave up 8 of your hours and you got paid a consistent amount for your work. But you go into Jungle Land and you spend 12 to 14 of your hours. You went out early morning, you come back late at night. And the amount of money or the amount what you come back with is this small. That's depressing. That hurts. And what you'll learn as you become a hunter is that your upside a lot of times is not capped. You can go out and get the elephant. Now, it takes skill and it takes hard work and understanding on how to kind of get the lion or get the elephant or whatever. But once you learn that your time is directly related to your money and also directly related to your goals, it's an unlock. So what I mean by that is this. I'm going to tell you what I do, what my work schedule is. And this is not for everyone, but I do think that this will help you set the goals and meet the goals that you want to hit. Okay? So my schedule currently, remember, I'm a father of 6 boys, soon to have our 6th boy in March, husband, creative director, has been part of my identity for a very long time. Me and my wife, we have a traditional setup where she is the housekeeper, where she is the home provider, the person at home taking care of all of the things. Very traditional. For a very long time, I fought against that kind of identity of me going out and that home thing. But that's a whole nother talk for another self-development video. She stays at home, and so in a sense, we're both working, okay? She's working on the home front. I'm working on the outside, out in the world front, okay? So we're both, however many hours that I work on my side, she technically works on her side. Okay? And this matters to your goals. This matters deeply to you reaching your goals. When you're misaligned and you're wasting and you're burning your time, I promise you, much, much harder to reach your goals and also project to your goals. This is what we do. So I work 14 to 15 hours per day, okay? That is, I'll tell you, for the 14 versus the 15, 14, and I work 7 days a week, okay? It's 98 hours. Comparatively to a zoo job, working kind of W-2 vibes, that's more than double. So in a sense, me personally, I am working double the capacity, double the input of anyone working a W-2 job. So I'm accelerating twice as fast. Now, that's assuming that you get good at hunting and you're in the world and you're able to kind of make the same amount hourly or more than you were in the zoo. Again, another talk for another day about time allocation and making money. My wife is also pulling pretty much the same hours. And you say, that's a lot of hours, Will. You know, that's crazy. Like, why would I do that? Why would I work 98 hours? Why would I work 70 hours? Why would I, why not work 20 hours? Why? That's what I really want to do. When you look at your life and your day-to-day and what you do, a lot of times, if you're not in a spot, you're not where you want to be, and usually this is where, when you're making goals, you have to realize that the inputs that you put in are directly related to the output that you get, okay? And so, depending on how ambitious your goal is dependent on how much work is required to get there. And you have to really think about this. You're like, okay, if I want to make X amount of money, or if I want to do these things, what does it realistically take every single day? And if you do the math backwards, you'll realize that anything worth having requires a dramatic amount of hard work. There's no way around it. Most people want to shortcut that and not think that it's hard work. Well, I can work smarter. You can work smarter. Alex Hormozy has another take on how to get more for your time, leverage, how you kind of continue to build up. And the first thing, if you're working out, okay, and fight me on this, but if you want to get a six-pack of abs, or you want to lose weight, or whatever it is, the inputs that you do in the workout are directly related to the outputs. And how much of it and how often is directly related to the outcome. Agreed? So if I have an ambitious goal and my time horizon is 6 months, not a year, not 2 months, then I need to really think about, like, one, do I really need this in 6 months? Because a lot of times adjusting your time horizon to 1 year, 2 years, makes the goal completely doable. Don't have to actually invest as much. But if I want to get to where I want to be, I have to be realistic. And most people that set goals all the time, they're not realistic about it. They're not realistic about how much hard work is required. I think if I can give you one piece of real practical advice, is learn how to own your own time, okay? That doesn't mean that you have your time and you just do nothing with it, okay? That's kind of like remember, time is your most valuable asset. Learn how to own your time, and whatever it is that you're trying to do, everything that you can do within the time that you own, which hopefully you can own all of it, you do just that, okay? If you want to start a YouTube channel and grow it, if you want to, there's so many different goals out there. But the differentiator, the gap between you and your goal is hard work, okay? Pretty sure Casey Neistat said something along these lines. And so if you realize that if you are able to allocate more of your time than you do right now to that goal, to that hard work, you will compound and go get there much faster. And the thing with it is, having a goal, don't even have it, like, have a goal. The goal can be a good direction setter, but I promise you, when it comes to everything, the pass or fail every single day is just, did I put it all on the field? Did I work hard? Did I work more? And did I work smarter? Like, those are the two things in anything that you do. And so instead of you being like, I reached this goal, it could just be like, how hard did I work today? Like, I work pretty much I'll tell you my day, and this will be pretty much a wrap up, but I work from pretty much 6 a.m. to 1 p.m., okay? 7 hours, should be 7 hours, yep, 7 hours right there, 7-hour block. Then I take a long midday break with my family. This is the time that I hang and spend with my family. From 1 to 5, that is my time with my family. We hang, we chill, we do our thing. And then from 5 p.m. to 12 a.m., I work again. 7, 5, 7, okay? That seems like a lot of work, but if you look at what you're really doing, you're spending your 24 hours already. You are. I promise you. You're spending it on something. And I promise you that majority of what you're spending it on, unless you're where you want to be and you're completely content and you're doing it, you're burning your money, okay? Last thing I'm going to talk about is opportunity cost, and then I'm going to wrap this, okay? So once you get control of your time, let's just say that your time is worth, when you're working, when you go out and work, whether it's contract or when you're, I'm going to put this for contract instead, because again, like I said, you're kind of capped when you're at W-2. But for contract, let's say that you can consistently show up and you can make $30 an hour every hour. Got it, right? Okay, cool. Every hour that you work, you're making $30 an hour. And you figure out how to be consistent. Again, this is another talk for another day. Now, there's also what's called opportunity cost, okay? So, in a sense, if you look at my 1 to 5 block, which is 4 hours, that's technically opportunity cost. Now, I'm okay with this because I love my family and I appreciate this. But in theory, if you look at it, you make $30 an hour, those 4 hours, and you figure out how to actually persistently do that, whole nother story, you're technically burning $120 in that time every day, okay? Every day. And I'm okay with that. But if you look at the hours that aren't being spent wisely, that are just being wasted, that is opportunity cost. Whatever you make per hour, every hour that happens, you're burning that money, or you're burning that energy or effort towards your goal. Once you get really clean, really good with like, I just have to work hard and I'm okay with that, and anyone that detracts from that energy, detracts from me doing what I need to do, they're technically taking money from you. Someone saying, hey, that you don't really appreciate, that you don't even want to hang out with. Someone saying, hey, I'd love to hang out with you. Let's hang out for like 2 hours. Let's hang out for a couple hours, okay? You are losing money in 2 ways by doing this if it's not important to you, okay? If this relationship's not important to you, you're losing money in 2 ways. Hey, let's go out to the bar. Hey, let's go, let's do XYZ. So you have the, let's say 2 hours, which is probably 3 hours or 4 hours, that you're going to meet with this person, and the opportunity cost, because again, if you were to work that time, let's assuming $30 an hour, you're losing $60 to $120 just by being there, okay? And then, in addition to that, you may spend $30 hanging out with them, buying, you got a meal and got a whatever. You literally burned in those 4 hours $150, okay? And those $150 are translated to your time. As your time As your time value goes up, let's say that you're making $50 an hour, all of a sudden you've burned $230. So you spent $30, but you also wasted 4 hours with this person that you didn't enjoy being with. Time is money, okay? Time times hard work will make you accomplish your goals and go further than your goals. My take on this is, please stop wasting your time. Reinvest your time in yourself, in your family, so that you can be a better person today and a better person tomorrow. Now that you understand how to set goals and manage your time, or have a good understanding of managing your time like an athlete, like a pro, like a hunter out here, let me know in the comments how you're going to apply this. If you love this video, you can deep dive into more self-development videos just like this popping up on the screen now. Here or here.